Good morning, everyone. It's very, very exciting to be here today amidst a wealth of knowledge, and I'm super excited about learning from you all and with you all today. We chose to talk about joy because it's something that we experience every day. And when I say we're the leadership team, so I wanted that all of our voices to be represented today. And I know that we have teachers from our school here today, so we're representing them. Yay! Shout out! Well done. It might seem like something that, oh yeah, joy. Children are generally joyful, aren't they? But what we'd like to talk about is how we intentionally think about joy and how we really look to embed that in everything that we do at the school, from the way the school is designed to every single moment that we're designing our learning. And now we've got some comfortable couches to make it look a bit couchy. I'd like to invite you guys to sit down, yeah. So I'd like you to think for a minute, just immerse yourself when you last felt joy, or the prominent memory that comes to you when you think of when you experienced joy, right? And just hold that little warm moment inside you. So that's the same thing for children, right? When they experience joy, but we're talking about actually joy in their learning. And all of you are working with children, and you must have seen that moment, right? When you are working with children and you're quietly watching them, or you're perhaps teaching something and you see that they're really engaged in their flow and that they are feeling joyful. So yes, joy happens unintentionally and just spontaneously, but it also can be intentional. And that's what we'd like to share with you today. And really, that needs to be embedded right from your values and what your mission statement. And we all work in schools that have mission statements. Often they're laminated and they're put in the walls. But we really like to think about how we live that. And there is a part of our mission statement that talks about the joy of learning right there in the mission. And that is very important to us to see how we can make that happen in our early childhood center. And it's something that is really important to our chairperson. We call her Nita ma'am. That's what the children call her. When she visits our campus, there's a lot of joy around that too. So when she talks to us about what's important to her, and also to our vice chairperson, Isha Ambani Piramal, joy is something that's non-negotiable for them. When I say, what do you want this school to be about when we began it? For them it was, we want children to come here and to be excited to come here and have joy. And certainly we call that KRA number 1, key result area number 1. When parents say to us, oh, our children didn't want the weekend. They wanted to stay in school. They don't want to go home. We say, okay, yeah, we're doing a good job here. We're hitting our learning intentions for joy within our campus. And how do we design that? So we're a school that's influenced by many things. So a long legacy of the Dhirubhai Ambani International School has been there for over 22, 23 years now, or is it 24? But our school, the early childhood campus, came up just a year and a half ago. So when thinking about who we are and our identity and how it inspires joy, we had a couple of influences. That great legacy that the school is known for, but we're also a part of a PYP authorized school. So we're part of the junior school that is authorized for PYP and MYP. So there's a continuum of learning, and that influences obviously our pedagogy and our inquiry-based learning. But we're also in a cultural context. We're here in Mumbai, in India. So what does that mean for who we are and for our joy? And we're also inspired by Reggio practice as early childhood. Many of you I know are nodding. Reggio Emilia is a place in Italy that is really very famous. It's almost like a holy place for early childhood educators. So when we looked at designing what we wanted in our learning experience for children, we looked at all of these elements and developed an emerging model. It's different from how it was last year, but we said at the center has to be joy, because that's so essential. So joyful learning permeates everything we do. Yes, we have a curriculum, we have our core values, and how do we make this joy happen? So we've got 4 corners, if you like, corner areas that really influence everything that we do, and we're going to talk you through just in a short 20-minute session, tell you a little bit of a glimpse into the story of those 4 areas. And we're going to start with our learning environment. And even before the learning environment was in place, there were some design principles that were there to help experience joy. And these three that you see, flexibility, transparency, and personalized learning, are very intentional within the design. One, the flexibility, which runs throughout all of the schools, is that we need this to reposition itself to what the children's needs are. So we use our spaces, the way that we group children, and our teaching approaches all connect in to that flexibility. So our walls can collapse. In some spaces in our early childhood on our learning floor, there are no walls. Does that make you feel a little nervous? In the beginning, it made our teachers and us feel a little bit uncertain too. How are we going to make learning happening in this environment without walls? What about the noise? Hopefully, when you visit our environment later on today, you will experience that. But it does provide a lot of transparency, which means that children can see each other, they can see what learning is happening. Do they get distracted? Sometimes, but that's okay, because what they're doing also brings them back. They're so engaged in their learning that sometimes they're not distracted, and sometimes it's okay to be distracted. Personalized learning, we've been talking a lot about that. It's very much within the theme of what we're talking about today. How do we personalize learning? We're very privileged. Our ratios are good. We have a ratio in the classroom about 1:6, which means that we can really know our children. And one of my favorite quotes from Carol Ann Tomlinson was, be a student of your students, right? The more we know them, the easier it is to personalize the learning, to have those rich conversations and that talk with them. So these are the things that we think of when we design the learning space for all kinds of learners. So we make sure that we are looking at a holistic approach there through the design of the building. And we have an expert in our team on learning spaces and documentation, and that's our early years coordinator, Divya Mohandas. And I'd like to invite you, Divya, just for a few minutes to talk us through how this amazing learning happens in our environment, what our learning environment, how it supports joy.
Thanks, Monita. I'd like to first start off with acknowledging our team and holding space for them, because our learning environments are what it is because of them. So I just want to hold space for that. And I'm a bit of a storyteller. So we've just chosen one of our learning environments that has just come up. It's our mud kitchen. So this kind of came about from the children's interests in mud, soil, and water. And so we built this place. It's just maybe a couple of weeks old, and students are still playing with the pedagogy of mud. So something we were quite aware of is if we put out our environments in such a way, and as the Reggio principle of the environment being our third teacher, it's something we're quite purposeful and intentional with. So we set up our stations, we read books. So this week we read The Tiger Came to Tea, and the students played with making cappuccinos and running a small restaurant, understanding how to write a recipe, the quantities that you could use would engage with the concept of mathematics. So while we are intentionally setting up our environment, we are conscious of the academic rigor that we still need to be aware of. We also noticed this little boy who did not want to engage with mud, because he was quite clear about my mother will shout at me if I get dirty. So it was a lot of talking him through those moments of uncertainty, because he was really upset that his mother will be cross with him. So the teachers had to have that dialogue with him, understand why he's feeling the way he is. He was not having it at all for the first week he went out for the mud kitchen. And then we noticed week 2, he has slowly come to the part which is the one he would least get dirty and engage with a bit of it. So this is one of our spaces. We see our readers put out the provocation of books, and they do pick it up. They're still learning how to read and decode, but just having that language of literacy through books is something that we find throughout our early learning campus. This is a provocation. that we had set up in our LKG. Ms. Seher is over there, I can see her. It was a provocation that she had set up for the unit of sharing the planet. So she put out these sunflowers and then just kept it there when the children came in. So if you actually look at the provocation up there, you see like little details of mathematics, literacy. Students are still understanding sounds. We noticed the children all ran there, and then very slowly, some of them looked at it. The boys were like, ew, flowers, and walked away. But then the girls just really went there. And then as they were talking through it, the kind of questions that they came up with, how does a sunflower grow? Why do sunflowers turn towards each other in the morning? These were the kind of questions we heard them engage with. How many petals do you think a sunflower could have? Do all sunflowers have the same pattern? From there, the students really went into deep observation because we're trying to ask them to think like scientists. What do you observe while looking at this? And how do scientists gather data? They gather data through multiple languages. So some of them wrote a little story about it. And when I mean writing, I do mean emergent writing. Some of them painted their sunflowers. Some of them made them with clay. So engaging the different languages, we were able to bring the concept of how one powerful provocation can really sustain students' curiosity over, I think this went on for about 2 weeks, and to eventually coming down to the sunflower dying, and for the students to understand the circle of life. Our spaces are quite intentional with how we engage with the social emotional part of it. We've got little tents. Sometimes all of us can get a bit angsty and they have a place that they can go and have a moment themselves. We've noticed when we set up environments, just small things like how do we share resources, because you put out something, everybody wants the red crayon. How do you wait for your turn? How does that happen? So a lot of our setups are collaborative, so they have to navigate the conflicts that could come up with sharing. A lot of our spaces are set up where students can really come together, imagine, and do a lot of storytelling. The block area is great because the stories that come through them are things that we take forward into our inquiries while we do it. So for us, environments play a crucial role, just not as a physical space, but a space that nurtures curiosity and care, and the next steps for a child in their development journey.
Thanks, Divya. Thanks for sharing that. So one of the great things of watching our environment and watching all this unfold with the flexibility is we've come to this question, is the space shaping our pedagogy, or is our pedagogy shaping the space? And what we've realized is that it's both. So a teacher will say, well, can I do this? I want to move my bookshelf here. Can I do this? Because the children are showing an interest in this, and we have the space, we're able to move things around. And on the other idea, the children will say, oh, this week we want the medical center to be a pet center where we can bring the animals and we can role play looking after the animals. So that flexibility really plays an important part, and really the environment truly is the third teacher here. In terms of pedagogy, we are very committed to play. And I think that's probably one of the most misunderstood words that we have in early childhood. What do we really mean by that? One of the things that we try to do at the beginning of every year is revisit our definition of what we mean by play. And play can be many things, and all forms of play are very much accepted. But when we think about in our framework of the PYP in the early years, we talk about inquiry. Play is inquiry in the early years, and it very much manifests itself in the way that I like Dr. Alison Gopnik's work, where she says scientists in the crib from the moment they're born, right? Children they work like scientists. They're natural inquirers. We do not have to teach them how to do that. But what we do need to do is provide provocations for them, provide materials that present them with a perspective that they may never have had before, an opportunity to learn something new, to see something different. And we do that in a variety of ways that we try to make as authentic and engaging to them to bring them joy. We have a children's kitchen, so the concepts of math and science get integrated into making some delicious, what do we make? Oat date cookies recently. Yeah, sugar-free, of course. We have an adventure play area outside where children can take risks. It's really hard for children to take risks at the moment. We're in a bit of a bubble wrap society where we don't want them to fall, we don't want them to get hurt. But we need to create a safe space for them to hang and to jump and to have really big movements. We have some animal friends that help us as well in this pedagogy of empathy, to understand that the animals are not just there to be petted, but they share the planet with us and that we have a relationships with them. So there's a lot of engagement and excitement and joy that comes on, especially when the goat escaped from his little enclosure and went running all around the school. That created a lot of joy. Through art, through water play, sand play, we have a space, a sensory room, we have a light atelier. All of these are moments where we try to create that idea of wonder and what we call an aha moment. And all of that is intentional within the program. The personalized learning part is built into this. Children learn, as we know, in different ways. So the materials, the design of differentiated instruction, to really know our children and make sure that there are materials that help them construct meaning in the way that they do best. Expression and exploration, particularly at this age, we call it symbolic expression and exploration, is really important because children are emerging in their literacy and their numeracy. So there are many ways. They have the 100 languages, right, that we talk about in a Reggio environment. So we do a lot of work. I love this first picture. This was related to a unit on identity, who we are in the PYP, where children were repeatedly drawing their self-portraits. And then at the end of the year, we had a book of those to see how they had developed, not only in their mark-making skills, but in their concept of drawing and their self-concept as well. So through various ideas of play, and we get a lot of questions from our parents as well as, but when are they reading and when are they writing and what about the CVC words, right? So all of that is very much there, and I think we never talk about this word so much as we do in India, academic rigor, right? I hear that a lot. I mean, it is important, but what is it in the early years? It really is deep learning. It is deep engagement that children experience. It is inquiry. It's not just being able to write the CVC word, but it's being able to, even if you don't have words, write a book and feel that you are an author, or do an experiment and know that you are a scientist. So these are the kind of experiences that we try to bring in through the exploration and expression with children. Oops. Going the wrong way. Here we go. Underlying all this is the concept of agency, and that's another word that perhaps we know, but what do we really mean? Yes, if you work with an IB school, you know the litany of voice, choice, and ownership, right? But this is really important as an important aspect of joy and children's motivation, that they can see themselves in the learning, that they have a voice, that they get the opportunity to choose. Now, they may not get the opportunity to choose everything, just like us in life, but when very often we will start the day with a morning meeting so that children know what's happening, and we'll say to them, okay, these are the things you have to do, and these are the things you can choose to do it this way. So we embed that within our pedagogy so that children have that sense of ownership. And that really is where that excitement and that motivation is, that agentic engagement. They're learning about something and they say, oh, shall we do this? And the teacher says, yeah. And they completely drop what their lesson plan was and say, okay, we're going to go with this idea. It doesn't happen all the time because you do have a curriculum, but those moments, those teachable moments to embed ownership in the learning are really important in the development and enablement of agency. And the last part, really, to talk about that we couldn't have joy without our community. Joy is really a relational experience. When you thought of your moment of joy, it was unlikely, unless maybe you were meditating, that you were alone. And maybe you weren't alone. Maybe you were with spirit, right? So joy is relational. Most of our experiences are when we're partnering with others, and for us, partnering with parents, particularly in the early years, this is so important. And we have parent committees. Parents run a lot of events for us. We have parent reading programs. So in a minute, Mamtha will talk a little bit more about that. But the other partner with us is our teachers. And if they're not joyful, learning will not be joyful for our students as well. So we really invest in the idea of teacher agency, giving teachers the autonomy in the design of their learning, in the way that they want to set up spaces, and also in their professional development. So we provide a lot. They might say it's too much. We provide a lot of professional learning for our teachers so that they can upskill and enable their own and build their capacities. Mamtha, in her role as head of student life, contributes a lot in this area. She is always looking about how can the experience for children be more joyful. So Mamtha, I'd love to invite you now to talk a little bit about how joy comes into our community.
Thank you, Ms. Monita. So at early years, we just do not focus on academics, but we go beyond that, where we try to imbibe strong values and cultures by organizing festivals, both Indian and international, organizing annual day, sports day, parent-led sessions, where we welcome the parents to come and spend some time with children. And this is how the children learn to appreciate and to learn the different values and cultures, and also to learn about their identity, that how they will become kind, show empathy towards others. For that, we have an animal friend corner where they spend their time every day, and that's how in their daily routine, they just don't learn, but they experience it by being there with them all the time. We organize sports day where they learn how to be courageous, and it's just not about winning, but participation is also important. So yes, we do have lots of events, Indian, international festivals, sports day, annual day, whatever we can do as child, it's for our children and it's for their best.
Thank you, Ms. Mamtha. Ms. Mamtha is also rigorously looking after safeguarding of children, making sure everything is safe and secure in the building, and that also is an important part of them experiencing joy. So we're going to leave you with a little glimpse, a short video of our first day at the school, and hopefully we really do invite you to come. I think it's at 6 o'clock, and share real life in the experience.
Unreal place.
The concept of having no walls is so visionary, and the kids are going to benefit greatly from it.
The vision for the school is really about joy. It's a place where imagination can grow. There's a lot of space and it's flexible. So what we really value here at the school is the individual personality, interests, abilities of each child.
Joy in their faces, you can't imagine how much joy
And with that, we'd like to say thank you, and we wish you a very joyful day.